Today's mission: hit the eel from here at 12th Street hole down to Drake and document the width and depth of these riffles. And I just saw some fish and game activity up on the highway, so I might see some action down here. I've never brought a kayak down this trail, so I'm about to find out how feasible this is or isn't. Well, I got down by the river. Of course, there's a bunch of trash down here, but I must credit on some level the kids who come down here and drink. There's a Bacardi bottle. There's usually lots of beer cans and bottles, because they're the ones who have made a trail good enough to roll a kayak down. I've still got about 15-20 feet to go to the river, but I think I can do that and get it back up. All right, made it down my little goat trail and onto the 12th Street hole. And it's a really large hole, about 350 yards, with sections of 12 to 14 feet, we hope. I haven't got the word back on that from my man David, who's mapping it. But we know it's still a substantial hole. The levee pushes the river flow so that it can dig a hole out similar to High Rock or Holmes, other places with big bedrock. But down below here, the river splits. Most of it does go on the east side here, where it has for years and years, although originally, I've been told, it went on the west side only, and there were apple orchards and such over between what is now the island and the north part of Fortuna, right at the on-ramp of the old bowling alley. CC Crane, sorry Crane guys. And here I go. I'm gonna go check this out and then come back up against the wind and the flow and that hill and wrap the mission. That's the plan. All right, I've paddled a ways here, probably at least a quarter mile from my launch and half a mile or so from the top of 12th Street Pool, and I'm coming to the first riffle. So I'm going to get out and measure its width and then walk it and get an average depth, because I know there isn't a slot really. It's very shallow all the way across, and as are two more riffles below it that I've been checking out. So my hope is that this documentation leads to a solution for what I see as a big problem here. A natural riffle should concentrate, and the river wants to be making holes and runs and riffles, and it's having a problem here. So trying to help out. Well, I just hopped out of the kayak and I'm in not even ankle deep, so about 3.5 inches, and I aimed for the deepest part of the riffle. It might be 4 inches over here. I don't think so. There's cobble showing all the way across this riffle. I brought a 70-foot rope and a tape measure and Sharpie so I could mark off 10s, but this thing's so big I'm just gonna pace it. So I'm going to guess it at 225 feet, 250 feet. Maybe here's a little teeny more depth. It's still not covering the tops of my booties. So we're talking 3 to 4 inches, and it goes down from there on the bottom of the apron here of this gravel at the base of the riffle. And it doesn't drop off into there into more than like a foot or two, maybe 3-4 up at that little point. Years ago I saw the lowest red I've ever seen on the Eel River right around that point, and now of course that's that pink salmon red that's another 3/4 of a mile downstream. Same story here. Booties really aren't even all the way under. I'm getting to the edge of the riffle, and there is water flowing through here, so to be fair, I'll go wherever I see water flowing. I'll avoid this edge water. Well, that's flow. Alright, right to the edge. And I'm going right to the right of the guy with the dog, straight across this riffle. 7, 8, 108 paces. I should be hitting 3 feet, easy. My feet are almost a feet long. A foot. Wow, that's bigger than I thought. I'll pace it again. This time got 110. So Yeah, 300-foot riffle, average 3-inch top and maybe a 4-inch spot. So I just got run out of that place as I went to go downstream. A pit bull from the homeless camp right there came out aggressively approaching me in the water. So I was yelling at it to get away, and the 3 homeless guys got pretty mad at me, and one of them came down, a really big guy, approached the water's edge like he's going to come out and get me. I'm in 1.5 foot of water, just starting to paddle away on my kayak. Thank God I wasn't still just dragging it. And now I don't know where to go back with it. Can't find the thalweg here, right above where Strong's and Roner Creek come in, and right next to the big impoundment that the gravel people dug out here. So it's very shallow, and this isn't even really a riffle. It'll be a riffle right up here, and that's what I'll get a measurement on. And then there's one more very shallow one below that before you hit a run with a couple pretty nicely concentrated riffles into the homeless hole right there at the north end of Fortuna. Okay, here I am below the impoundment where the gravel people took their stuff out. They've put a tree in there, so that's interesting. This is all very shallow over here. And then it concentrates to this riffle right by where Strong's Creek, Roner Creek, Strong's Creek, because Roner Creek joins it, is that right? Or the other way around. Come in here, so the major creeks from Fortuna, right after they've left the sewage treatment, adjacent to the sewage treatment area. So here's the riffle that I'm going to measure, and we'll call it Strong's Creek. Okay, we got water flowing right here at the edge, so this is the edge of the riffle, right by it's the creek delta basically. The creek joins in to the river right below the riffle. So I'll walk it here. So I'm about halfway out, and there's more concentration here, and the thalweg going through the riffle might maintain 6 and 7 inches. I might even be able to get over in my kayak with just a couple scrapes. So compare that to what a fish needs. The big kings will definitely have their backs out of the water here, and they're obvious and vulnerable. And then another big point that I've been making is there's a lot of shallow water right around here. It's not like they bust through this and all of a sudden get to rest. They've got to go a ways before they've even got 2 feet. So it's a long way to be kicking. And it's going to take a lot of CFS increase here to make this deeper. Okay, I'm right at the top of the lower impoundment gravel extraction area. Here's a lot more shallow water run below the riffle, and I'm going to pace off this one right here at Strong's Creek. I'm 47 paces out here, and I'm over my ankles, so there's a good 6 inches, 7 inches or so, but I'm not on the shallowest part of the riffle. You can see where the vehicles drive. Their wheel imprints actually come through in the gravel on the surface of the water. So anyway, I'm about halfway. It's going to end up around 300 feet wide like the other 109 paces from here at the little peninsula between Strong's Creek and the river, this riffle. Of course, this riffle is more concentrated, but there's water running over here. That's part of the problem. Flat. A lot of flat gravel. It's not engaged with anything to make it turn a corner or dig a hole. Less than a foot of water here below the riffle, and here's another little extension of the riffle, and I am coasting through, hitting quite a few rocks here. So I can get into about 6 inches of water, 5 inches, and so yeah, you have barely over 4, 5, 6 inches back there, and still here less than a foot, and it goes quite a ways to the next big problem riffle in this depth, or maybe I'll find 2 feet. There's the water flowing into the impoundment, and it'll be flowing out at the bottom. So I hope that's helping in some way. But my bottom line really is I feel like we need to go into the stream channel to dig. Instead of trying to make it go over there, it spreads its power. It's not up against something hard. need to get in the channel, and we need to put some things in its way. Greyhound buses, I call them. We don't have them around here anymore, the big redwoods that this river evolved around. They're too valuable, they get taken away. Okay, let's put something else here. It's a dangerous proposition because nobody wants to be wrong or cause a problem. But don't we have a really big problem? Not far under that riffle, and I'm just blowing right downstream. It's going to be a trudge on the way back. But here's another kind of intermediate riffle, but it's more of a run. It doesn't have a lip. It just gains a little velocity, and it's actually probably a better place for a salmon to go up than the riffle back there or the one up here. But still, they're fighting against current here and don't have any place to rest in between other than 1 foot of water. I mean, literally. Maybe 14 inches. And I'm about to hit some rocks. So thalweg is lacking around here for sure. Getting down to the middle of the impoundment here, the northern one. And it's kind of a relief. There's quite a bit of area of, looks like 16 inches to 2 feet. So that gives the fish, no cover, but at least some slow current water to hang out in before they have to bust up the gauntlet. Where, I think my blood pressure is back to normal after being accosted by those guys. I mean, that was scary, and I'm taking an alternate route back. I came to get this mission done, but I envisioned myself paddling, hauling, and rolling back up the river bar. Oh, that 2 foot section ended. And anyway, yeah, now I think I'm going to take an alternate route out of here and just say thank you to the gravel people as I go out their no trespassing gate, because I don't want to have to go back by. Those guys were scary. That guy walked up to the water's edge and was acting like he's going to come out and take me out. Okay, I was feeling relieved for a bit, but it got real shallow back there, and there was no thalweg. But now I'm back in kind of 16 inch. This is scary because of this. The homeless hole up here, 2 riffles away, 1 bad riffle, and a couple actually pretty normal ones in a chute down into homeless. All that separates us from 1,000 fish sitting there. A lot of them are half pounders, but there's hundreds of adult Chinook in there too, at least. I haven't even been there in a few days. And we haven't gotten a good count with the drones since the numbers increased. So more fish are coming. We know they're in the estuary. Heavy numbers aren't showing, but we're talking about a couple thousand fish trying to bust past here. And even if only a couple dozen of them or whatever get taken out by people that are waiting for them nefariously, the rest I think are in danger of having a problem running the gauntlet of super shallow wide riffles and super shallow wide runs between them, and with only maybe a half to an inch of rain coming in the basin, that's maybe only going to make it worse and make them try to push and be more vulnerable. But nature's in charge. Actually, isn't it Julian Huxley that Higgins always quotes? It says that we already messed with it, so actually we're in charge of evolution now. I am down all the way below the 2 impoundments in the gravel extraction area and approaching the third in a row of the really large, shallow, wide riffles. And then I'll be on just a run directly into homeless where the riffles are more concentrated. And so I'm going to measure this one off, and since there's all this kind of stagnant algae, I'll start from this stagnant algae edge over here, and I think this one's going to hit 300 feet too. So consistency. If you're going to do dry land to dry land here, you'd have to do another 50 feet to get here where I'm going to start. Or I guess if you did a dog leg, maybe 35 feet. So there's water flowing right here. This is where I'm starting. Looks like another 300 footer for sure. This is the deep part here at 7 paces. So right next to the algae edge here. Deep part so far, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Still just barely covering my booties. 3.5 inches. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You can see vehicle crossing 3 and 4. 132 yards. 400 footer. And max depth was maybe 4 to 5. More like 3 to 4. And then all that area out from my kayak above the riffle, quote unquote, very shallow. Above there, very shallow. You've hit 2 spots in there that hit 16 inches, then 16 inches to 2 feet up by the impoundment, and then it goes more shallow up to the really shallow riffle, and then above that shallow to the 3rd shallow riffle where I was accosted by people who I assume are sitting there waiting for fish. Well, for practicality and sake of not messing with the fish, actually too, I am not going to kayak down into the homeless here. I'm going to go pace this riffle off, which the river is split here, but this riffle is a lot more concentrated, not as wide, of course. I'll bet has more like 8-9 inches of water in its thallweg. And then the really good example of how a riffle should be is going to be heading into homeless there, where there's actually a red right now, and maybe I'll get to see the pink salmon. Maybe we'll get to see the pink salmon. I'm approaching this riffle heading into the homeless hole, and I haven't been reminding that this is most of the flow of the Eel River, but maybe 35% of it goes on the other side of the island, and that goes for all of these shallow riffles that I just measured. So that adds to the problem. Even though it's only about 70% of the flow of the river. What a nice riffle. Starting here at dry ground, it's got a nice backwater there. Used to be a lot bigger hole. The rope swings are up there. It used to obviously be on a hole. There used to be a lot more of a hole here. Now it is barely even 2 to 3 feet deep right up against the edge. So it's hitting hard stuff and it's not digging out. Work to do. Paces. Here we've got vehicle crossings. The red's right there. You'll be able to see it better from the other angle. But vehicle crossings right by the red, right above where there's 1,000 fish in this run below the hole. 41, 42, 43. So makes all the difference in the world, that concentration of the riffle. Here I am on the west side of the island at the top, where 12th Street empties on this side. Pretty nice little concentrated riffle, but you can tell it's bony. It's got a lot of white. There's a little side channel to it, but at least it goes into this channel here that goes 2, 3, 4 feet. And then down into more kind of, there's some shallow areas down here and some riffles that aren't ideal, but actually if all the river was on this side, it's a lot more contained in a channel over here, at least here. It does widen up down there where they're doing the gravel extraction, but it still is not anywhere near as bad as over on that side. And I oh shit, I just heard that dog bark. I only came over here because those homeless guys are over there, and the one guy was basically acting like he's going to take me out and kill me. I gotta stay away from people like that. Here I am at the top of Wurswick, and this is the riffle that comes into Wurswick, and Wurswick has become part of Tidewater all the way to Fernbridge. Tidewater influences up to the base of this riffle run. Riffle run down here, riffle here, riffle crest, where people have been driving over it. You can see their tire tracks come through in the surface of the water. I've come to see that all over the watershed. There's more of it. And they don't ever just cross at one spot. It's all over this. Just like the salmon spawn all over this. Not this particular riffle, but actually the pinks could be here doing it. There's Drake up there. The run in between, not too bad. There's a couple spots of 4 or 5, maybe 6. A lot of 1 to 2 feet. And I'm going to pace this one off
It's going to be kind of cold.
Well, there and back again. It's about 120 feet, 40 paces. I tried to cross pretty much where the vehicles cross at the Riffle head, Riffle crest. And there's plenty of water. I was up to my calves, so 18 inches. Good water. It's probably splashing up a little, maybe 16 inches. Still, that's way better than those big wide ones. And this is, you know, this is more like it. This is the eel of my youth, cutting its way through the gravel bar to meet the other side again. And you want to see it go back and forth and have some obstacles like big old logs. Some bedrock would be nice. It's down there somewhere.